want to welcome you to the Ask Jeff YouTube channel. Here's today's question. Were all of the approximately 2 million Israelites in the wilderness making sacrifices at the tent of meeting? If so, how would it have been possible that many sacrifices were made at one location? Well, I'm going to answer this question in somewhat of a backward means, and then I'm going to come back to the wilderness. Let's just fast forward the story to the promised land. Let's go to Jerusalem. Let's go to the days even when Jesus Christ was in the flesh walking during those famous festivals and feasts there in Jerusalem. Remember, the Bible talks about how crowded it was, particularly the day where he came in riding on that famous donkey and he declared that you've made my house a den of thieves, etc. Well, the Bible talks about throngs and throngs of people. You say, why is that important? Because at that time, there were actually more Jewish people that would come to Jerusalem to offer the sacrifices than there were in the wilderness. And yes, we have ample evidence that all of those sacrifices were done in one place and in one geographical location. Now, we think about 2 million people. But at the same time, let's flush the numbers out. Because yes, they're in the wilderness. Yes, there was a tent. Yes, there was a place to do it. So let's just imagine, let's take it back to another story. When Jesus feeds the famous 5,000, right? You do realize there were probably 25,000 people there because that was just the men. It didn't include the wives, the children, etc. So when these sacrifices were made, it's not like all 2 million people showed up. There were representatives, usually the man of the family, who went with a sacrifice on behalf of the family. I know what you're thinking. Okay, great. So we cut it down to 500,000. That's still an enormous amount of people. You're absolutely correct. But understand, the entire tribe of Levi facilitated them. Now, I know you're thinking, okay, great, that's a lot of people, a lot of sacrifices, but this is a small location. But you understand that these sacrifices went on 24/7, day after day after day. It's not like they all showed up at 2 p.m. on a Tuesday and all did it at the same time. There was a succession. There was a continuation of. That is why at the temple, in the days in which there was that building on the mount, there was a continual smoke. There was a continual sacrifice going because it was all the time. In fact, if you go back to the Old Testament and you look at the role of the Levites, man, it was bloody. They were always cutting them up and offering these sacrifices, and that's all they did all day long. One of the great questions of Scripture is, how did so many people not only make it to the Exodus, through the Exodus, but through the wilderness experience? How did they organize themselves? How did they, in this case, make the sacrifices? I think, again, it's not as difficult as it seems on the surface. When you would have had the male father representative for the family, you would have had an entire tribe of Levites facilitating, and you would have had an area where they were doing it 24/7, not at just one specific time. Great question. If you have one, send it to AskJeff.net. Maybe your question will be tomorrow's. Thanks for being a part of today's daily question. Now, we answer a question each and every day. Please feel free to submit a new question at AskJeff.net. We may not have gotten to yours today, but we eventually will continue to be a part of this. Subscribe so you don't miss out on a question every day.